Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Noah here from SixFlow Automations, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how we can set up outbound calling for your AI voice agents using Retell AI, n8n, and Google Sheets. I'm also going to be showing you how we can pass dynamic variables from n8n to Retell AI, giving your agent specific knowledge on the user it's calling, such as their name, their business, their mission statement, and much more for every single call that it makes. I'm also going to be showing you how we can integrate SMS so that we can send customized text messages to the user as well. And the best part is both the AI agent and the SMS is going to be connected to the same phone number. That being said, this is going to be a value-packed tutorial. So if you find this content useful or want to support the channel, hit that like button, drop a sub, and let's jump right into it. All right, guys, so like I said, we will be using Retell AI for the voice agent. We're going to be using n8n for the backend automation, and then we will use Google Sheets as our database. Now, that being said, we will be using Twilio to provide the phone number. However, I'm not going to cover how to configure this phone number and connect it to your Retell AI agent because I've already done that in a previous video, which I will link up above. However, I will walk you through how to connect the SMS side from Twilio to n8n. So for this tutorial, we're going to use an example with a healthcare recruitment agency where the agent is going to make outbound calls to leads that you enter into your Google Sheet and tell them that you have a new opportunity for them and see if they're interested. If so, then we will go on to book a meeting. So that being said, the first step is going to be creating your Google Sheet with the exact same headers that you see on my screen right now. Go ahead and pause the video, create your Google Sheet, copy these headers, and come back once you're done. All right, so once you're done creating that Google Sheet, the next thing we're going to do is actually build the agent. So to do this, we're going to head into Retell AI. And if you're new to Retell AI or haven't made an account yet, you can just head over to retellai.com or click the link in the bio, which is our affiliate link. So for every dollar you spend in your account, we do get a cut, but it will not cost you anything extra. You would just be supporting us by using that link below. So feel free if you'd like. So let's go ahead and create a new agent. We're going to press create an agent in the top right, and we will select voice agent. For this demonstration, we will be using a single prompt agent. So go ahead and click on single prompt, start from blank, and then press create. Now, the first thing I do every time I start a new voice agent build is configure all the global settings. So let's go ahead and go into functions, and you can see that Retell already adds the end call function, so that is perfect. Next, we will go into speech settings. I'm going to go ahead and turn the responsiveness down to 0.95 and interruption sensitivity to 0.85. I do enable back channeling and speech normalization. Let me go ahead and turn this down to 0.3. Then we will go into call settings. I will enable voicemail detection, and I will say hang up if voicemail is reached. Next, we will go ahead and lower the end call on silence to 30 seconds. And then the max call duration to, let's just do 12 minutes. I know I ran through that super quickly, but if you want a complete breakdown on what all these settings mean and Retell's UI in general, I have a complete tutorial that breaks all that down, which I will link up above. All right, so I shifted my image over to the other side now so that you can see us set up the welcome message. So because this is an outbound, I am going to leave it on user speaks first. However, with every outbound, I always enable the AI starts speaking after silence so that the call isn't just going on until the user talks. So we're going to do a static message. We will say, let's say 5 seconds. 10 is probably a little too long. Now for the opening message, I usually give the agents a name. So this is a female voice on SEMO. So I'm just going to say, hi, this is Sarah calling from SixFlow Nursing. Am I speaking with? Here is where we're going to add the dynamic variable for the user's first name. So to do that, we're going to add a double curly bracket, and later on in the n8n automation, we are going to name this variable. For now, I'm just going to call it first underscore name. All right, so as you probably know by now, we never really build the universal prompts right from scratch all on our own. We use an LLM to help us first, and then we fine tune the prompt afterwards. Now, you may not be aware of this, but I've actually built this Claude project specifically designed to create universal prompts for single prompt voice agents in Retell AI that are specifically using ChatGPT 4.1. So for the sake of this video, I will be using this Claude project to build the universal prompt so we don't have to go through the entire build process. And if you guys want access to the documentation needed to create this project, everything is in our Skool community. You can tap the link below to find that. So the prompt I wrote here is write a universal prompt for a single outbound voice agent for a nursing recruitment company. The agent should greet the user, mention the new job opportunity, and sell the position to the user, handle objections, and book meetings if interested. So let's go ahead and send that off. All right, so as you can see, Claude is coming back at me with a few questions. That's because it's trained to get all the information it needs before actually building the prompt. So it's asking me what's triggering the call, what information do we have about the nurse beforehand, and what specific job titles should the agent present. All right, so I'm going to knock all these questions out in one response. I'm just going to let Claude know that we're using n8n to trigger the calls, and I'm going to give it all the dynamic variables that we inputted into our Google Sheet so it knows what information is going to be sent to the agent. All right, so it looks like Claude is done building the universal prompt. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this into our window. And let's see what it did here. So it's got a role and objective. It's got the personality, the context, and the dynamic variables, which we will fill in later. And then a few instructions. You can see that it has meeting scheduling, technical guidelines, stages, and examples. That's all great. Now there's a few things that I always add to these prompts manually. And because this agent is intended to book meetings, we definitely want the agent to have access to the current date and time right now. Now to do that, we're going to use Retell AI's built-in default system variables so that we don't have to actually have an external automation for it to get the current date and time. And if you're unaware, without adding this, the agent does hallucinate the current date and time. A lot of the time for me, it thinks it's still 2024 in June, which is just obviously incorrect. So that's a big reason for why we add this. All right, so to add that, I'm just writing a line here under dynamic variables that says today's date and time in Toronto. Then to use the default system variable, we're going to go double curly bracket and we're going to type in current underscore time and then underscore with your time zone. So for me, that's going to be America/Toronto. Now with this added, the agent is going to have access to today's current date and time. As for the rest of the dynamic variables, we will fill that out after we finish the n8n automation. All right, great. So the next thing I'm just going to do is add the agent's name into the role and objective. So we call this agent Sarah. So I'm just going to switch the role and objective to you are Sarah, comma. So this prompt isn't going to be perfect. Of course, a lot of testing and refinement is needed, but because I don't want to do that in this video, I'm just going to move on with this prompt because it's definitely good enough for this demonstration. If you do want to learn about the proper methods to testing and refining your agents, I break that down in a separate video, which I will link up above. All right, so that being said, we are essentially done with the voice agent Retell AI side of this build. So let's go ahead and publish that and connect it to a outbound number. Now, again, if you don't know how to connect your Twilio number to Retell AI, go back and check out that video that I mentioned at the start of this video where I demonstrate how to run through that entire configuration. All right, so I'm just going to choose one of our numbers and then I will publish this agent. Great, so now that we're done with Retell AI, what's next? n8n, let's go. All right, so this is what I'm thinking for the n8n workflow. We're going to use a scheduled trigger so that all the calls you enter into your Google Sheet are going to go out at the same time. And not to worry, you can go up to 20 calls at the exact same time using one phone number and one agent from Retell AI. However, there are other methods to this. Like let's say you wanted each person to be called at a specific time. You can add in filtering logic into your workflow and maybe a column in your Google Sheet that you input the exact time you wanted to call. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to use a schedule trigger so that it will trigger all the calls at the exact same time. So let's go ahead and add that node now. I'm going to search schedule trigger and we will do sure once a day at midnight. Whatever, that's okay for now. Now, the next node we are going to add is going to be the Google Sheets node so that we can pull in all the data that we enter into the Google Sheets. So let's hit this plus right here. We will search for Google Sheets. And then we are going to choose Get Rows in Sheet. Now go ahead and connect your credentials if you haven't already done so. If you have, just select the sheet that you just made, and then we will select sheet number 1. And then that is it. Let's give it a run. Make sure all the data is being pulled in, even though we didn't actually enter any data, but everything looks like it's good to go. So the next thing that we are going to need to do is add some sample data into our Google Sheet so that as we're building out this workflow, we can play around with that sample data. All right, so before I add some sample data into the sheet, I forgot to mention at the start of this video, I did leave out a column in the Google Sheet, which is going to be call made, because we definitely want to be tracking whether a user has already been called so that every time the automation runs, it doesn't send a text and call that same person every single time. So go ahead and add that column as well. All right, so here's the sample data that I added. You do not need to put anything for the date and time. That's going to be automatically added through our workflow. You will, however, need to put in the user's phone number, their first name, their job title, their current job description, and their new job opportunity. As for the call made, you can also leave that blank because that's going to be updated through the workflow. So now that we have some sample data pulled in, let's head back into n8n. Let's give it one more run so we can actually pull in that data. And if I open this up, we should see all the data right there. Perfect. All right, so the next node we're going to add is going to be the filter node. Now this is going to check whether the column that we just added into our Google Sheets, the call made column, is either empty or set to true. Because if it's set to true, we definitely do not want to call that user again. We want the automation to skip over that row and call the next user in line where that cell is empty. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to add the filter node, and we're going to drag in the call made, and we're going to set the operation to is empty. Just like that. So because we're using the string field to set the operation as is empty, we're actually going to want to enable the convert types where required. And the reason for this is because at the end of the automation, when we update the call made column, we're going to be using a Boolean because we're going to be writing true to that column if the call was made. Because when a cell is empty, it's technically a string, but when we write true to that cell, it now becomes a Boolean. But n8n has the capability of converting the types when required, so it just makes it a little bit easier on us. So we're going to enable this, we'll give it a run, and then at the end of the automation, we'll write in true to the cell if the call was made. So it looks like all the data was kept because currently the call made column is empty. So that is perfect. We're good to go. So let's move on. All right. So the next thing we're going to set up, like I said in the intro of this video, is we are going to send a customized text message to the user before we make the call. Now to do that, we're going to be using the Twilio node within n8n. So let's go ahead and click on this plus, search for Twilio, and you may not have it installed on your n8n account already. If you don't, it will still show up. It's just going to ask you to install it. So just go ahead and do that. Once it's installed, we will select the action SMS. Great. So as you can see, I've already configured my account. However, I'm going to show you guys how to do it anyways. So I'll select create new credential, and you can see it's asking us for two pieces of information, the account SID and the auth token. These are very easy to get within your Twilio account. So let's jump into Twilio and I'll show you where to get them. All right. So as you can see, I'm in my Twilio account now, just on the main dashboard, and right in front of your face is the account SID and the auth token. So these two pieces of information you want to copy and paste them into n8n so that you can configure your account. All right. So once you have those entered, just press save and make sure the connection goes through. All right. So next, we're going to set up the from and the to number. Now, the from number is going to be the number that you've purchased in Twilio, the one that's connected to your Retell AI agent, and the one we're going to be using to send SMSs. So you can either go into Twilio if you don't remember the number, or just type it in here. Just remember, you do want to add the plus extension, and you want to make sure there are no spaces between the number. All right, so I've inputted the from number. Next is going to be the to number. Now, remember, this is dynamic because for every row that you enter into the Google Sheets, the user is going to have a different number, of course. So to do this, I'm going to manually type in the extension, which is going to be +1, and then we are going to drag in the field that is the user's phone number, just like that, so that every run it makes, it's going to update. Now, just make sure that you get rid of the space between the manually entered extension and the dynamic phone number. All right, so once you do that, the last thing to do is just set up the message. So like I said, we're going to make this customized for the user. So let's switch this to expression, and I'm going to go ahead and expand this. All right, so as you see on the screen, I've added the message that we're going to be sending to every single user via SMS that reads, "Hi, user's name. I'm Sarah, an AI recruitment consultant from SixFlow Nursing. I'll be giving you a call in about 10 minutes to discuss a new opportunity with you. Looking forward to our chat." Now, of course, the first name is going to change every single message that gets sent to a different user, meaning that this message is actually dynamic. As for the rest of it, it's going to be a static message. And this is just a really good thing to do, especially with outbound calling, because one, you're letting the user know that it is an AI calling, which is always a good idea if you're selling these agents, especially with outbound calling. And two, you're letting them know the reason they're calling so that they can prepare a little bit. All right, so once your message is set up, we will click out of this. We will give it another save. Now, the next thing to do is going to be adding a wait node, because like we said in the text message, we're going to be giving them a call in about 10 minutes. So we're going to add a wait node, and we're going to configure that to 10 minutes. Now, for the sake of this video, I don't want to just wait for the automation to run for 10 minutes. You would set this to 10 minutes. However, I'm just going to leave it on 5 seconds. All right, 2 more nodes to go. The next node is going to be the HTTP request node that actually triggers the call. So let's go ahead and add that now. We're going to type HTTP and we will add that. We're going to switch the method to post, just like this. And as for the URL, this is going to be the same for everyone. Retell has a built-in API to create a phone call, meaning it's an outbound call. So you can either copy this off my screen or I will paste it down in the description for you guys to copy. All right, so we can leave authentication as none. We do not need to send any query parameters, but we do need to send headers. Using fields below is good. And for the name, we're going to give it authorization like that. And for the value, this is where you're going to enter your API key from Retell AI. So we're going to type in bearer like this with a space, and then we're going to go get an API key from Retell AI. Now, if you don't know how to get an API key in Retell AI, you just want to go into your main dashboard. We'll go into settings and we'll tap API key. And right here, this big add key button is where you can create a new API key. Just give it a name and then press create. Now we're just going to copy this and we will head back into n8n and paste it right here. All right. And then finally, we are going to need to send a body. So let's enable that. I'm going to change the specify body using JSON. And let's switch this to expression, and then I'm going to expand this for you guys. All right, so as you see, I've added the JSON body template here. Don't worry, I'll paste this down in the description below for you guys to copy, but let's go fill out each section. So the first one is going to be the from number. Now this is going to be your Twilio number connected to your AI voice agent in Retell AI, and it should be the same number that we just used to configure the Twilio node to send the SMS. So go ahead and enter that in. Reminder, add the extension, add the plus, no spaces between the number. Now, the next one is going to be the to number. So this is going to be dynamic because in our Google Sheet, every time the number is going to change. So go ahead and add your extension like we did before. And then we will expand the Google Sheet node and we are going to drag in the user's phone number into that field. Again, make sure there is no space between the extension and the phone number. Next is going to be the call type. So this is going to be a phone call. That's going to be the same for you. All right. And then next we got the agent ID. So to get this, we're going to head into our Retell AI account. We'll go back into the agent that we created and you can see that the agent ID is in the top left right here. You can just copy that, come back into n8n, and we're going to paste it in right here. All right, so next we're going to configure the dynamic variables. So this is where we're going to be sending specific information about the user to Retell AI so that the agent is trained on the user for every single call that it makes. So starting off with the first name, this is all coming from our Google Sheet. So we're just going to drag in the first name. Next is going to be the user's job title. And then we have the user's current job description. Finally, the new job opportunity. Make sure that you're dragging that in between the quotation marks for each one. Make sure that the final LLM dynamic variable does not have a comma at the end. You will then close the brackets and then we are good to go. All right, so the final thing that we're going to add is going to be a Google Sheets node that's going to switch the call made to true. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll search for Google Sheets and then we will choose update row in Sheets. We will configure our credentials, select the sheet. Okay. And then you can choose which column to match on. Probably the best one for this is going to be the phone number. So let's just go ahead and choose user's phone number and we're going to drag that in from the get rows. So right here, we will put in the phone number. Now for the date and time, you will leave that user's first name, delete, job title, delete, job description and opportunity. You can delete all of those. For the date and time, we do always want to record that. So to do that, we'll switch this to expression. We'll do a double curly bracket with the $sign and type now. And then for the call made, we're just going to set that to true. All right. n8n automation built. Let's go. There is one final step we need to do before testing out the entire system, and that's going to be entering the dynamic variables into your Retell AI universal prompt. So if I expand this HTTP request node once more, you can see that we gave these dynamic variables specific names. We need to use that exact same name in the universal prompt for the agent to understand what information is actually held in that variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of these for now, and then we will head into Retell AI to add those to the prompt. So let me just paste these here for now so we know the names. So the user's first name is going to go in here. and we're going to need a double curly bracket for this. So I'm going to do double curly bracket. I'll paste that in and then close the double curly bracket. All right, so I went ahead and just added the rest. As you can see on the screen, we got the first name, the job title, the job description, and the job opportunity. So now our agent is fully set up. Let's go ahead and publish it one more time. All right, guys, I think we're ready for the final test. So let's head back into n8n. We will close this. We will close this. All right, so just one more thing before we run it. I just want to switch the wait note to be a little bit longer so that you can see the SMS come in before the call is actually made. So I'm just going to put this on like 40 seconds for now, and I'm going to save this. And now we're ready. Let's run it. Got my phone right here. So let's see that SMS come in. All right, there it is. It says, "Hi, Noah. This is Sarah from an AI recruitment consulting from SixFlow Nursing and yada, yada, yada." And we should be getting the call in any minute now. All right, there's the call. So let's go ahead and answer it. Hello.
Hi, Noah. This is Sarah from SixFlow Nursing. I hope you're having a good evening. I see you're currently working as a nurse at a retirement home, and I actually came across a new opportunity that might really interest you. Do you have just a couple minutes for me to share it with you?
I do.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the position I wanted to mention is at Toronto General Hospital. It's a full-time nursing role that offers a higher than average salary, really strong benefits, and a much more flexible schedule than most hospital positions. They're also very supportive of professional growth with opportunities for training and advancement. I'm curious, how are you feeling about your current role at the retirement home? Is there anything you wish could be different about your work situation right now?
All right, so you guys get the point. You know, the agent works, the SMS works, we're all good to go. All right, so of course there are next steps to this automation to build out a perfect system. For example, I didn't walk you through how to book the meetings from Retell AI using cal.com or set up the post-call analysis into the Google Sheet from Retell AI. The reason I didn't walk through that is because I have videos that go through that exact process on my channel. So if you're curious, go check those out and I'll show you exactly how to set those systems up as well. That being said, I hope you guys found this tutorial super useful. Again, if you did, drop a like, hit that sub button, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.